What is the best mileage tracking app for rideshare drivers? What's up, guys? Brandon Sellers here with you from the Gridwise team to talk about a crucial topic, because this is one of the things that will make or break a lot of rideshare and delivery drivers, and that is your mileage tracker, because that will add directly to your bottom line. And what I want to discuss is, for rideshare and delivery drivers, what's the best one for you to use. Now, of course, we're going to be a little bit biased here, but we are going to talk about, because Gridwise does do mileage tracking, but we are going to do our best to be a little bit partial here and then talk about some of the pros and cons here of different mileage trackers, right? So when you think about a mileage tracker, obviously you understand for rideshare drivers and delivery drivers, you get a tax deduction of somewhere between like 57 and 58, 59 cents, 59 and a half cents per mile, depending on the year. I'm gonna be pretty broad there because, you know, it's 2020 now, and in 2021, I'm not sure what the tax rate will, or what the deduction rate will be, but that will almost certainly fluctuate, right? So you do get a decent size, a really great size deduction there. And then for a lot of drivers, from a federal tax standpoint, if you do this correctly, you know, you're not going to have to pay very much in taxes. And yes, you will get reports from Uber, from Lyft, from DoorDash saying, hey, you drove X amount of miles. But the problem is they miss a lot of miles. You're talking about the miles that you are driving to start driving. You're talking about the miles that you're driving back home, sometimes kind of in between trips and things like that, when you're repositioning yourself and your app is off. Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Postmates, Grubhub, they're going to miss those miles, guys. So it's very important that you have your own independent mileage tracker to keep, just to keep track of everything. But what's also really important that drivers need to pay attention to when they're looking at a mileage tracking app is you also want to track your earnings. And you don't just want to say, okay, I've earned X amount. You want to be able to break that stuff down and be able to get some different performance tracking and things like that. And that is why, surprise, surprise, in a Gridwise video, we're going to say one of the best mileage trackers here, one of the 5 best mileage trackers here. Are we doing 5 here? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of the 5 best mileage trackers here is certainly going to be the Gridwise app. Gridwise certainly does automatic mileage tracking for sure. But we also do automatic earning tracking. So if you simply link your account with Gridwise, your account on Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Grubhub, Postmates, whatever you drive for, we're actually going to automatically pull your exact earnings in, so you can do some analysis on how much you're earning. So I'll be able to understand how much I'm making per hour, how much I'm making per trip, how much I'm making per mile. And then I'll be able to break that down also by service. So I can see those stats by services. And I can even, if I'm a rideshare driver and I do delivery, I can even break that down and see, hey, how much am I making when I'm doing rideshare? How much am I making when I'm doing delivery, right? So all of that, so mileage tracking is amazing. But then adding that extra layer of earnings tracking is equally awesome, and equally, if not more so, helps you maximize your earnings, because I'm going to be able to understand what services are making me the most money, so I can understand which service I should focus on and when. Right? So when you're looking at a mileage tracker, that earnings tracking is really, really important, right? So other things that are also really important that a lot of these other mileage trackers are things like expense tracking, which coming soon, guys. Keep a close lookout. Expense tracking is definitely coming to the Gridwise app. So, gonna kind of move on. Gridwise is awesome. You already know that. Other great mileage trackers are MileIQ. MileIQ is actually now owned by Microsoft. They are a little bit more of an enterprise. They're certainly not really directly or specifically tied to rideshare and delivery drivers, but you certainly can leverage it for that. So they do have some pretty nice automatic mileage tracking. It's pretty easy to classify your trips. Like once you are, once you do a trip, it's pretty easy to go ahead and go back and classify that. Nice reports overall. No expense reporting thus far. Haven't heard anything about that coming soon. No earnings tracking, and it is a little bit more of an enterprise type solution. Definitely not framed at rideshare and delivery drivers there, but a decent tool. Now, Another one that's really great is Hurdler. Hurdler again does everyone really does nice automatic mileage tracking. That's kind of sort of table stakes. Hurdler also does some expense tracking, and they do also do earnings tracking, but they don't let you really break that down so you can understand what your stats are. Excuse me. So you can't really see how much you're earning per mile, per hour, by service, and get all those like nice breakdowns like the Gridwise app does. But it does give you something there, so that you can at least at a high level understand, hey, how much did you make in a given month or even in a given week, I believe. So that is there for sure. And they also, in their premium version, they have some nice tax deduction features as well. So Hurdler's another one you could potentially check out. Everlens is a great option as well. They have, again, nice automatic mileage tracking, easy to kind of just like swipe over and classify your miles and things like that. Again, no earnings tracking, and they do have expense tracking with receipts, but no earnings tracking. So it's really kind of hard to understand where you're actually making that money. TripLog is another one that is, again, like actually not really aimed at rideshare and delivery drivers, but you can repurpose it like that if you would like. So they definitely do mileage tracking. They do some expense tracking. You're not going to get any earnings tracking here at all, though. So you're not going to be able to understand, again, like how much you're making per service, how much you're making per hour, per mile, etc. That stuff's not going to be there. But table stakes, automatic earnings tracking, decent expense tracking, and things like that as well. And then we also have one more being Stride Tax, which again, solid automatic earning tracking, solid expense tracking. I don't believe they do actually any automatic earnings tracking. Let me actually do a quick check just to triple check this. Nope, no earnings tracking whatsoever. So again, you're going to be missing out on potentially being able to understand, hey, how much am I making per hour, per mile, etc. So you're not going to really be able to do any of those breakdowns there. So, but again, like if you want some very, very basic automatic earnings tracking and some expense tracking as well, Stride Tax is certainly an option. Outside of Gridwise, none of these apps really kind of give you any of the other interesting things that rideshare drivers will want to do to maximize your earnings. Nothing in terms of airports, nothing in terms of helping you from an event standpoint, which if you're watching this and we're still in COVID, which I don't know, I hope a year from now in the middle of 2021, we're not still in the middle of COVID. But if you're watching this in the middle of COVID, from an event standpoint, that's has a little bit less use right now, but certainly being able to track and understand, hey, what's going on in your city, and then what's happening from an airport standpoint, when are passengers arriving, when are they leaving, that stuff is really, really important for helping a rideshare driver maximize their income. So you're not getting any of that stuff. Most of these really aren't targeted at rideshare and delivery drivers. They're just kind of mileage trackers that you can use for your rideshare and delivery business. But hey guys, those are, the great mileage trackers that are out there. Again, we are quite biased over here. I will completely admit that. Would love for you to actually just check out Gridwise, as it has really all the features that we're kind of talking about, except automatic mileage tracking, earnings tracking, expense tracking is coming very, very, very soon for that. So you can track your tax You can already track your tax deductions and things like that with Gridwise. But we of course have, really robust earnings tracking as well. So try out Gridwise. Also, hey, do your due diligence, try out all these other features, and let me know in the comments what you like the best if you are trying out Gridwise. Thanks guys, and drive safely.